Hello everybody, welcome to the No Time to Be Sad channel. In today's video, I want to talk to you guys about 5 things to bring and 5 things not to bring to Thailand. At the end of this video, I'm going to give you a bonus of what to bring and not to bring. Let's get started with number 1, what to bring to Thailand. First thing you should think about doing when you're traveling outside of the country is what are you going to do to communicate if you have to back home. A lot of times we leave family, friends, a job, pets, and we need to communicate back home. And if you don't have a phone that has international service, then you need to think about what you're going to do. First thing I would suggest is contacting your phone service and making sure you can get a temporary international service to call outside of your country. But what you can also do is just purchase an unlocked telephone, and this might be something good to have when traveling overseas, just an additional throw-down phone that you can change the SIM card in for an international SIM card. You can get a phone fairly inexpensive on eBay, unlocked phone, or you can take your existing phone to your local phone shop and have it unlocked there. You can purchase an international SIM card on the internet, or you can get a Thailand-based SIM card when you arrive at the airport in Bangkok, which is really easy to do and very inexpensive. Really, you get probably the best cell phone service if you go ahead and buy one from one of the local companies in that country. So first thing you need to do is make sure you can call back home. Now, you don't necessarily have to do any of these things because internet Wi-Fi is everywhere in Thailand just about, and what I definitely recommend doing is uploading an application called Line, L-I-N-E, Line app. And this is widely used in Asia, and you could make video calls for free as long as you have an internet connection back home. So you can make sure your loved ones back home also have this application, and you might want to show them what you're up to. But Facebook will also do the same thing. If you have Facebook, you can always talk to everybody through Messenger, which is a pretty good. You could make phone calls through Messenger as well too. So make sure you have a way to communicate back home. And what we always do, me and Paige, is we have an international phone card. Your phone card will expire, so you have to keep a little bit of money on it at all times. But you can travel anywhere in the world, and our international phone card seems to work pretty good, and that's what we're actually using here in the States. Another application I recommend that you put on your phone is Google Translate. Now, Google Translate works pretty good in a crunch. The problem is in Thai language, the way we think and the way we create our sentences sometimes doesn't make sense when you translate stuff. But if you need to just try to talk basic and simple, like where is the bathroom? Something like that, or I'm full, or no thank you. Just very plain. Don't make your sentence complex, and usually Google will translate it to where they can understand. But Google Translate is something very good to have. The next thing I recommend, number 2, is to bring your medication. Now, if you have a certain prescription that you think you might not be able to get filled in Thailand, make sure you bring your heart medication, whatever medication you're going to bring. Most likely they do sell that in Thailand, and a lot of times you can get it over the counter at any pharmacy all over Thailand, most of the time. So make sure you bring that. Your prescriptions most likely won't work in Thailand. You could always go to one of the local clinics or even the hospital and check in and get a checkup and get a prescription if needed. If you just so happen to have a little bit of an extended stay, longer than you expected in Thailand, you can always pay a visit to the hospital and get. Now, it might not be the exact same thing. It might be called something different, but a lot of the drugs that we have in the West, they do also have in Thailand. You got to remember, Thailand is like almost on the top of the list for medical tourism, so that shouldn't be a problem. But recommend bringing your medication, and that should be kind of a no-brainer, but sometimes we do forget things like that. That's number 2. Number 3, you need to make sure, obviously, you bring your identification. You can't get on the plane without a passport, but you need to make copies of everything. And what I recommend for sure is not to give up your passport unless you really need to. Sometimes hotels will want to hold on to your passport and keep it locked up in their safe. Sometimes motorbike rentals will want this, but you don't have to do that. You could always go to another motorbike rental. I wouldn't give up your passport if I didn't have to. So always carry a copy of your passport along with a copy of your stamp, how you got in there, your visa, whatever it is that got you into Thailand. Make sure you also keep a copy of that too, because you don't really want to carry your passport everywhere you go when you travel, because what most people do is when they get into their hotel, they just stick it in the hotel safe and they carry on about their business. So make sure you keep a copy of that just in case anything happens to you. And you want to make sure you have that. You can also take a picture of your passport and save it in your phone. And another thing you can do is what me and Paige do is we email it to ourselves. We have all of our documents saved in a file through email that we can access anywhere in the world. And in case we lose everything, we just got to find a computer to get that information so we can let people know exactly who we are. Also, on that note, make sure you carry some emergency information in case something bad happens to you or you lose your wallet. You want to make sure there's phone numbers, contact information easily accessible in your wallet. And if you have traveler's insurance, anything like that, you want to make sure that it can be found easily in your wallet in case an injury happens and you're not able to share this information. Obviously, the hospitals will still treat you. Also, you want to have a card of wherever you're staying at, the hotel, in case you need a taxi, or even if you do lose your wallet, there'll be a card for where you're at in there. If you lose your passport, I don't know, you won't be able to get back home on a copy of your passport. You will need to obtain another passport. Don't freak out. The problem in Thailand though is they don't make passports in Thailand. The closest place, if you're an American citizen, you will have to get it from the Philippines. They do have an expedited lost passport fee, and it takes about 2 to 3 weeks to get it, but you won't be able to board the airplane without it. And in certain countries where there's FedEx, I think FedEx in America, I don't know about your country if you're not American, but FedEx is in line with our government, and you can get a 24-hour passport if you're somewhere where you can get in contact with FedEx. But it's not possible in Thailand, at least not at the moment. So you're looking at a couple weeks of extended vacation in Thailand if you lose your passport. So don't freak out on that, but you can get another one. Back home, it usually takes about 6 weeks. Without the expedited, it usually takes about 6 weeks. Number 4, money. Of course, you need to bring your money, but a lot of people always ask me, hey Chuck, how much money should I bring to Thailand? I don't know. What are you gonna do? Well, it's good that you asked that question, but what I do recommend is that the ATM machines in Thailand have a fee. A lot of times people's banks back home, depending on what kind of bank you have, the fee will be reimbursed. My bank also does the same thing. They reimburse me for any fees that I use at the ATM machines. But typically to use the ATM machine in Thailand is going to cost you about $5 plus whatever fee that you have back home. What I do recommend is if you're going to use the ATM machine is take out a large number of about 20 to 30,000 baht. Typically that'll last you a long time on a couple week vacation in Thailand. So you won't have to do that too much, but again, it just depends on what your entertainment needs are. I would recommend bringing cash. Now you can you can carry up to 20,000 US dollars into Thailand without having to declare it with Thai customs. Of course, you don't really need that money unless you're staying here long term. But I don't think America allows you to bring more than 10,000 per family. So I don't know what country you're from, maybe it's different, but Thailand is 20,000 US dollars. But I would bring some cash, maybe a couple $1,000s in cash. Make sure the $100 bills are new and fresh and doesn't have anything on them like pin marks, smears, tears, because they have to sell these dollars and they won't take it. Now, not always the case, but just bring some fresh $100 bills. A lot of places in the airport will take smaller bills than 100. So I would just bring some cash so you don't have to worry about those fees. And you guys in the comment section, you can share some of the best places that you've experienced getting the best rate on money exchange. A lot of people just use their credit card in Thailand. It's not gonna work obviously in the markets, but it's going to work in the major grocery stores, the hotels, department stores, in the mall, stuff like that. So make sure you tell your credit card company that you're traveling overseas so it doesn't get rejected and you don't have any problems. But just let them know. You can go online most of the time. You can let them know the dates that you're going to be traveling. Okay, that brings us to number 5. I recommend bringing an empty suitcase. There's going to be so many things that you're going to want to buy in Thailand. Of course, don't try to bring back any meat or anything you're not supposed to. There's a big long list of things on the customs site of what you can bring or can't bring. But I would bring an extra suitcase because you're going to want to buy some things, and you're allowed usually when traveling international 2 big suitcases, a carry-on and a personal bag and a camera bag, or you can bring a lot of stuff. So we always just bring 1 empty suitcase and pack our travel bag, carry-on, whatever, inside of that suitcase and just check it in. And then you can always buy luggage too in Thailand, but I would bring an empty suitcase to bring back some awesome clothes or some Thai seasonings or whatever. And also depending on the item, you can look it up, but they will refund you on some of the tax at the airport. Okay, now this brings us to what not to bring in Thailand. Number 1, too many toiletries. Okay, now if you got some problems where you need certain kinds of soaps or certain kind of lotions or certain toothpaste, then yeah. But you really don't need to bring much of anything. As soon as you get off of the airplane, there are 7-Elevens everywhere. And stuff is really inexpensive. You can buy everything here. And a lot of times, we don't want to carry a little tiny travel size of toothpaste, and you can't bring a lot of that stuff on your carry-on. Anything, a large thing of liquid, of course. So it's easy just to leave that stuff at home, and you can buy that stuff easily all over Thailand, and it just takes up too much stuff in your bag. Really, all you need to bring to Thailand is a backpack full of a couple of clothes. And you can buy everything else here. You don't really need to bring anything, but the big problem with people is they always bring way too much stuff that they're not going to use, and because typically you're just going to wear like sandals, a tank top, and some shorts. Bring underwear. That brings us to number 2, excessive clothing. Socks. If you want to buy socks, buy them in Thailand. You can buy 6, 7, 8 pairs of socks depending on where you're at in Thailand. Now, if you're in a tourist area, things are going to be a little bit more expensive because cost of doing business obviously for the vendor is going to be more also. So you don't need to bring a bunch of socks. 7, 8 pairs of socks is about $3 US normally. $3 to $6 at the most. Shirts, you're going to want to buy shirts in Thailand. Those little thin cotton shirts are really good on the beach, keeps the sun off you, and depending on your size, it's anywhere between 150 and 300 baht. Now, the bigger you are, of course, the more expensive it's going to be. Most of the prices are all over the place when you're going shopping, but if you see a shirt that says 150 baht, don't be surprised if they tell you it's going to be 300 baht if you're a 5X. That's just the way it is in Thailand. Also with shoes, don't bring winter clothes. It's not going to be this cold in Thailand. Now, if you're going up in the mountains, sometimes it does get cool up in the mountains. You can buy a coat, a throwdown coat for no money in Thailand. Coats are heavy, bulky, waste of space. Don't bring any winter clothes. Thailand's hot. If you're anywhere where you should be, like by the ocean, you're not going to need it. Bring your good pair of shoes, your good pair of hiking shoes, your good sandals, whatever makes your feet comfortable. You can buy that stuff in Thailand also. They have over-the-top malls with everything you could possibly need in these malls, and the markets have tons of shoes, sandals, anything you want. You don't need to bring a bunch of bulky shoes, but if you've got a favorite pair of tennis shoes, hiking shoes, or sandals, then by all means bring that. I used to bring back Crocs. I know everyone says, oh, you can get these Crocs suck, whatever, but I like Crocs. Well, I found this another brand of sandals that work just as good, and they cost me like no money, like $3 for one pair of these sandals. So I can't remember the name of it at the moment, but you end up finding things eventually in Thailand that you didn't need to buy or waste your money on. Don't need to bring a hat, many hats, all kinds of hats, whatever kind of hat you need in Thailand. Don't worry about trying to get a bulky hat. Unless it's your favorite cowboy hat, then I guess you're gonna have to wear the damn thing. Number 3, electronics. If you are from the United States, we usually use 110 volts just about on all of our appliances, and our razors, our shavers, our hair dryers, curling irons, all that stuff is 110 volts. It'll explode. Maybe not that drastic, but anyway, that would be cool if it did. Not for the hotel, but don't bring it. It won't work unless it's like your favorite shaver. You got to have it. My friend has a breathing apparatus that he has to bring with him, so if you go to one of, in the travel section of a lot of the stores, they have a power inverter that you can buy with no problem. They're usually, a good one's about $40, $50. You could buy that if you must to bring your stuff, but usually you can buy a hair dryer cheap in Thailand, and a lot of the hotels have that anyway, but try not to bring anything. Now, cell phones, laptops, all that stuff you can bring because it's already built in to handle 220 to 110 volts. You don't have to worry about your communication devices. They're already prepared to handle multiple ranges of current. Number 4, expensive jewelry. I wouldn't bring any. You don't really want to be a target anywhere you travel in the world.
The name is Mr. T. First name is Mr. Middle name is that period. Last name is T.
You never know who you're going to encounter in a touristy area, so you don't want to stand out in the crowd. So don't bring any fancy jewelry. That should be common sense. But I think it's very important to not bring your expensive wedding rings, necklaces, stuff like that. Leave them at home. This is a tropical paradise. Number 5. I've seen this happen many times in the airport. They've got a layover somewhere and they want to buy their favorite carton of cigarettes. So they buy 4 or 5 cartons of cigarettes, put them in their bag, travel to Thailand. They get a random check at the end and they scan their bag and bam, they're out pulling out cigarettes, alcohol, all kinds of stuff. That's a no-no. Now you can go on Thailand Customs website and get a list of all the things that you can bring or can't bring to Thailand. Now, if you see here, it says that you can't bring more than 1 camera. Now, I've always carried a lot of gear. So typically when I'm going through customs, I usually always have at least 5 or 6 cameras. But I'm usually geared up to make video, take pictures, and I'm not bringing it to sell. So I think a lot of times, like if you bring in something, especially a gift, you might want to take it out of the package, because if it looks like you're bringing something to sell, like one piece of jewelry in a box would probably be okay. But if you're bringing many items, customs could say, hey, we're going to tax you on this stuff. And then I don't know what you do. I guess you have to mail it back home somehow. But try not to make it look like you're bringing anything over to sell. And they do say that you can't bring more than one laptop. If you're going to bring two, which I am this trip back home, make sure it's not in the box, so it looks like that you're bringing it in to sell it to somebody, because you could be hit with tax. I had a friend of mine mail a broken computer to Thailand because it was less expensive to get it fixed in Thailand, and when he went to go pick it up at the post office, there was a tax on there that cost more than buying the damn thing brand new. So he just told the post office, I guess you just acquired a broken laptop, because I'm not taking it. It's ridiculous. It's not working, but it's just, the customs is not going to change their mind, and the post office can't do that for sure. You are allowed to bring 1 liter per person of alcohol into Thailand. Yeah, you know what? A lot of people bring stuff and they don't go through the random check and they get lucky, but don't risk it. You can get fined, you can get in trouble, and they're definitely going to keep it if they find that in your bag. And also, of course, if you're bringing anything valuable, you want to bring it on your carry-on. You don't want to load that up in your luggage, because you never know who's going to have their hands on your stuff, and if it comes up missing, it's gone. Okay, and now for the bonus things to bring and not bring to Thailand. What you should definitely bring to Thailand is a smile and a great attitude. Thailand is the land of smiles for a reason, because everybody is, their first instinct is to smile. In the West, when something happens, our first instinct is embarrassment, anger, or who's to blame, But in Thailand, their first thing is to smile. So when something bad happens, a lot of times you'll see them smile. So just learn how to smile and walk it off. There's going to be a lot of things that are very confusing and different than what you're used to in your life. So just smile, and you'll see things change a lot for you, that people will go out of their way, even more so if you're a friendly face. So just be happy, smile, bring your smile to Thailand. For the bonus, what not to bring to Thailand is your expectations. Don't expect things to be what you saw on the internet. Don't expect them to be what you're used to in your normal life back home, because it's not. If you bring a lot of expectations to any country, most likely you're going to be very disappointed. So just come as you are, but just be open-minded, and just let things happen and enjoy the moment and the experience. And when you come back and forth to Thailand, you'll eventually figure out how things work. But a lot of people, they get their expectations on what they read in blog sites or from friends. But remember, if your friend or that blogger didn't come to Thailand with a smile, maybe things didn't quite work out for him like they probably would for your smiling face. So just don't bring your expectations to Thailand. Have a great time. I hope you guys get to travel soon. Me and my wife are traveling here in less than a week, so very excited to get back to whatever kind of normal, I guess you can call it. I don't know what it's going to be, but happy to get back in the air. And I thank you very much for watching. Khopคุณนะครับโชคดี and I will see you guys on the next video. If you have any other questions or comments, don't forget to put them in the description box. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Got a lot of awesome travel videos. Plus we have about 1,000 plus in our library of all over Thailand and Japan, all around the world. So check it out, subscribe, hit like, share. I'll see you guys on the next video.